The day Alia accepted Kai's confession, everyone thought I would lose it and fight Kai to the death. But even when the confession ended, I never showed up because Alia didn't know. I was lying on her best friend's bed holding her close, barely holding back a volcanic eruption. The rich transfer student was going to confess to Alia in front of everyone. Alia had told everyone in advance, asking them to keep it from me. What she didn't know was that someone eager to stir things up had already spilled the secret. Who didn't know I was crazy about Alia? I dreamt of marrying her. This time, Alia had also caught feelings for that guy. Everyone believed I would be furious, unwilling to give up without a fight. After all, who doesn't love a good drama filled with love, hate, and obsession? They were all waiting for me to snap, charge in, and turn the scene into chaos. But unfortunately, even when the confession was over, I still hadn't shown up. The crowd, packed tightly in layers, started losing interest. Even Alia didn't seem all that thrilled. She clung to her new boyfriend's arm and pulled out her phone. No calls or messages. Alia furrowed her brows slightly, then she turned to the crowd and said, "Tonight, Kai's treating. Everyone here is invited." The students around cheered. It was only then that I stepped out from behind the bushes. Someone sharp-eyed noticed me and immediately shouted, Liam's here." I knew it. There's no way Liam would hold back and not come. Alia suddenly looked up, and the moment she saw me, the corners of her lips curled ever so slightly. I ignored those waiting to see the drama unfold and walked straight up to Alia. "Liam." Alia clung even tighter to her new boyfriend's arm. She looked at me, her voice calm. "You can't force feelings like this. We've known each other for over a decade. I don't want to say anything too harsh on Drew and our past friendship. From now on, I'll still see you as a brother. If I ever need help, you can still come to my aid." After saying that, she lowered her voice slightly. "Everyone's watching. Don't make this awkward for us. Just leave." "Alia." I cut her off and took a slow step forward. She furrowed her brows again, sounding irritated. "Liam, calm down. Just go home." I smiled and handed her the watch I had just taken off my wrist. "I'm only here to return this." Seeing the watch, Alia's face instantly darkened. "Liam, what kind of trick are you playing now? Take the watch back, and I won't bother you again." Alia stared at me, her voice growing colder. "I don't care about this kind of money anymore. If you don't want it, just throw it away." Before she finished speaking, I turned and threw the watch into a nearby trash bin. "You can throw away all the other things I gave you too." With that, I didn't look at her again and turned to walk away. Alia stood still until Liam's figure disappeared from sight. Her expression, however, remained somewhat sour. Her friends quickly tried to smooth things over. "Hey, Liam's just trying to save face, pretending to be tough. Just watch, Alia. By tonight he'll regret it. Maybe as soon as we leave, he'll come back crying, digging through the trash for that watch." Hearing that, Alia let out a chuckle. "Whatever he wants. If it weren't for the sake of our family's elders, I wouldn't have even bothered with him. All right, enough. Don't let him spoil our night. We need to celebrate properly." Alia glanced at her handsome and wealthy new boyfriend. She tossed Liam's annoying face out of her mind. By tomorrow, Liam would be waiting at the dorm, acting like nothing ever happened, begging her for forgiveness so they could go to class together. By the time I reached the riverside, the rain had grown heavy. I stood there with an umbrella thinking about the dreams I'd had over the past few days. In those dreams, I was deeply disturbed by Alia and Kai's relationship and fell into the river by accident. When I fell, I injured my spine, lost half my life, and ended up with a permanent disability, never able to walk again. But in the end, Alia never came to see me, not even once. I was adopted by the E family, and when they saw me like this, they thought I had no more value to them. So they sent me back to my birth parents, who were awful, abusive people. My life spiraled downward from there, and I died miserably. After I died, It was the person I'd always distanced myself from who collected my broken remains. Alia, on the other hand, was happily married to Kai, never showing up at all. Everything for my dreams had been coming true these days. If it weren't for those dreams, I would probably be calling Alia non-stop right now. I'm grateful for those dreams. It feels like I've been reborn, bit by bit, changing my tragic fate. On the third time dialing, the call finally connected. I gripped the phone tightly to my ear. The name Nora hovered on my tongue a few times before I slowly said it aloud. The heavy rain drowned out the world's noise. Only Nora's slightly tired voice came through softly. Liam, Nora. It's raining too hard today. I'm stuck by the river and can't get back. Can you come pick me up? There was silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds. I gripped the umbrella handle nervously, waiting for her reply. In my dream, when Nora gathered my remains, it seemed like she cried. Her tears fell one by one onto my decaying flesh and bones. Even in the dream, I could feel the burning heat of her tears. Later, she kept a small bottle of my ashes with her for the rest of her life. She lived alone all her life. Thinking about that, I instinctively choked inside. Nora remained silent. Then she asked, "Why are you upset?" I didn't say I wouldn't come. Embarrassed, I asked, "So, when are you coming?" She replied, "Wait for me." "I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said. "Okay, I'll wait for you, Nora." She didn't say another word and hung up the phone. 15 minutes later, I gave my umbrella to a mother and child who were taking shelter from the rain. So when Nora arrived, I was already drenched from head to toe. When she got out of the car, her lips were pressed tight and her face was cold as ice. I brushed aside my wet bangs and gave her a bright smile. "Nora, you're right on time." "Liam, you might as well be dead, you idiot," she said coldly, grabbing my arm and pulling me into the car. Then she tossed me a soft blanket. "Dry yourself off. Don't mess up the car." She glanced at me through the rear-view mirror and told the driver to turn the car around. I wiped the water off my head, then I looked up and started watching her through the window reflection. When she had no expression, she always looked distant and hard to approach. A lot of guys at school liked her, but none of them dared to confess. She was Alia's best friend and also her roommate. I used to visit their shared apartment all the time to help Alia move things, and whenever I was there, Nora always seemed to dislike me. Even now, despite coming to get me, she still acted all cold and indifferent. There was no sign at all that she had secretly liked me all along. I shook my head slowly. Everything from my dream had come true, but now, thanks to the changes I've made, many things have turned out differently. Does Nora still like me? If she doesn't like me at all, then am I just adding more trouble for her? She suddenly asked, going back to the dorm. Nora glanced at me as she spoke. My heart skipped a beat, and before I could stop myself I said, "Yeah, to your dorm." Nora suddenly burst into laughter and said, "Alia's not coming back tonight. You won't see her even if we go." I awkwardly replied, "I know. I'm not looking for her." Nora turned back to look at me, sounding exasperated. "Are you just making me part of your little relationship drama?" She looked at me, her eyes deep and filled with countless emotions. Suddenly, I felt an inexplicable sadness. I sighed and said, "Nora, you know it too. After what happened today." My roommates all laughed at me, calling me a simp, saying I gained nothing from it. "I'm thinking of renting a place tomorrow. Can I crash in your living room for just one night?" I added, "Of course, if it's not convenient." "Don't worry about it. I'll find somewhere else." After I finished speaking, Nora didn't say another word, but the car was heading toward her dorm. I followed Nora into the dorm. She handed me a towel from the closet and said, "The bathroom is over there." After my shower, I hastily put on a hoodie and came out drying my hair, looking for a hairdryer. Nora was sitting on the couch, eyes glued to the TV. She only glanced at me briefly before quickly looking away. I walked past Alia's usual spot and sat down next to her. The shampoo and body wash on me were Nora's. In the small space, the same scent lingered in the air, creating a subtle but undeniable tension. Nora stood up, pressing her lips together and said, "It's too stuffy in here. I'll go out to the balcony for some fresh air." She went to the terrace. I curiously looked around at the room's layout. The TV in front of the sofa was playing Pokémon. The coffee table was neatly arranged with books, a laptop, and her phone. Everything was very tidy. I was just about to take a closer look at a small ornament near the corner of the table when Nora's phone suddenly rang. Alia's name was flashing on the screen. I didn't answer. The phone rang again and again, almost without stopping. I called out to Nora from the balcony. "Nora?" She quickly turned around and asked, "What's up? Alia's calling." Without hesitation, she picked up the phone and put it on silent. I awkwardly scratched my head, changing the subject. "I accidentally got the couch wet. I might have to sleep on the floor tonight." Nora looked at me, then at the wet spot on the couch, before turning around and handing me a hairdryer. In a low voice, she said, "Just sleep in my bed tonight." I asked, "What about you?" She pulled out a chair, not even looking back. "I'm going to binge watch my shows." "Oh." Nora grabbed her headphones, just about to put them on. When my phone suddenly rang, it was Alia. Annoyed, I answered the call and said, "Alia, what do you want?" Nora frowned but didn't say anything, just glanced at me before turning back to her screen. Alia asked, "Someone told me they saw you go to our dorm. I'm warning you, don't cling to me. The more you do this, the more I'll hate you." I was speechless and just about to respond, but before I could say anything, Nora stood up and came over, straddling my lap, hooking her arm around my neck. Instinctively, I started to push her away, but she leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Liam, tell her you're here for someone else." Her fingers brushed against the back of my neck and my skin instantly heated up like it was on fire. My brow furrowed and my heart pounded in my chest. I looked down at her, and she looked up at me. Her eyes gradually filled with desire. Hoarsely, I said, "Stop flattering yourself. Okay, I'm here for someone else." As soon as I said that, she grabbed my phone and tossed it aside, burying her head in my chest. The next second, I clearly felt a volcano of heat rising within me. The buzzing in my ears grew louder. My first thought was to get up and cool off, but Nora clung to me tightly, lifting her head and softly whispering my name. "Liam." Her warm breath fell on my ear. I struggled to control myself, leaning down to kiss her lips as she gently broke through my defenses. I tried to regain some sanity, saying, "Don't tempt me. I don't want to touch you in this place." "Liam?" She shifted her body, trying to adjust her position. The volcano inside me felt like it was about to erupt, fierce and overwhelming. In between breaths she questioned, "If you don't want to touch me, why did you kiss me?" Nora tilted her head. Her forehead pressed against mine as our breathing entwined. I closed my eyes, trying to calm down. She added, "Also, do you even know how to kiss?" My lips are swollen now. I gently placed my right hand on her waist, my left hand holding hers softly. I said, "Nora, I'll be more gentle this time." As my words fell, my hands moved to her lower back. I pulled her close, pressing her against me. This time, the kiss was long and tender, but toward the end, I lost a bit of control and wasn't as gentle as I'd intended. She lightly hit me and in between breaths bit me. "Liam." I tried my hardest to suppress the volcano, but it was already threatening to erupt again. Clearly, Nora felt it too. Her face showed surprise, her ears turning a deep shade of red. The usually cold and distant goddess now looked shy and flustered. She bashfully said, "I'm going to take a shower." She stood up quickly, avoiding my gaze, and adjusted my shirt before saying, "You go to sleep." Before I could respond, Nora rushed into the bathroom. As the sound of water echoed from the bathroom, I lay down on Nora's bed and began to drift off. Nora was tall with bright eyes and pearly teeth, the recognized goddess of the campus confession wall. Yet she had never had a boyfriend, nor had she ever gotten close to a guy. There were even rumors that she wasn't into men. But after everything that had happened tonight, I couldn't help but think back to the dream of her growing old alone. A wave of complicated emotions washed over me. Lying on Nora's pillow, I stretched out and accidentally found a pearl earring underneath. The earring looked familiar. It was the same one I had given to the girls in their dorm, as a gift when I was pursuing Alia. I hadn't expected Nora to keep it under her pillow this whole time. Suddenly, I remembered in the dream. Nora had kept this earring with her all her life. I stared at it for a long time, then gently placed it back under her pillow. The sound of the hairdryer stopped. When Nora came out, she was wearing a light beige cotton pajama set. The steam from the shower made her skin glow like jade. Her hair fell softly, and her usual aloofness seemed to fade a little. For some reason, she looked incredibly sweet and cute in that moment. Just as I was about to call her name, faint voices came from outside the door. I froze, stunned. Among the voices, one was unmistakably Alia's. Nora was also clearly flustered, but she reacted faster than I did. By the time Alia pushed open the door, my clothes were already hidden in the wardrobe and my shoes were shoved deep under the bed. Nora was already in bed, pulling up the covers. Only a small nightlight was on in the room, casting dim shadows. I was hiding under Nora's blanket, barely noticeable except for the slight rise and fall. Even if Alia came closer, she wouldn't notice anything unless she looked carefully. "Why'd you turn off the light so early?" Alia asked, curious. "I got a headache from the rain," Nora replied, scratching my palm under the blanket. The bed was only about 4 feet wide. And Nora's height and long legs, she took up most of the space. My body was pressed against hers, my breath brushing lightly against her waist. I could feel the tightness in her abdomen. All right. Alia didn't turn on the lights. She sat down on a chair, picked up her phone and started making calls. She tried several times, but no one answered, and her frustration was obvious. "Nora, do you think Liam's doing this on purpose?" Kai just confessed to me today, and now Liam's acting like this to mess with me. I saw on the news that a college student jumped into the river over a breakup. I thought he couldn't handle it, but when they pulled the body out, it wasn't him. Then he told me he's with some other woman now, and now he won't answer his phone. Alia tossed her phone onto the table. "He's doing this on purpose, trying to ruin my night." After a pause, Alia coughed. "I bet he'll be stuck on me for the rest of his life." "Maybe not," Nora suddenly chimed in. Alia looked surprised. "No, Nora, you've seen how he's been clinging to me these past 2 years. You've never liked him either, always giving him the cold shoulder." Hearing this, I couldn't help but pinch the soft skin on Nora's waist. Nora winced slightly. Her whole body tensing up as she let out a very faint hiss. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing, just a leg cramp." Nora's voice was soft as she spoke, followed by a couple of coughs. "All right, I'll let you rest." "I won't bother you anymore," Alia said as she stood up. "I'll just use the bathroom and then head out." As she pushed open the bathroom door, a thought suddenly struck me. Earlier when I was showering, I had washed my socks and left them hanging in there. Sure enough, it wasn't even 2 minutes later that Alia came out with a mischievous smile on her face. "Nora, did you bring a guy to the dorm? You did it so well. Which guy managed to win over our ice queen?" "Nora, don't be ridiculous." Alia took a few steps closer to the bed. "Going to bed this early? Is someone hiding under the covers?" "Alia," Nora's voice suddenly turned cold. All right. I won't come any closer." Alia stopped in her tracks, but she looked at Nora's bed with great interest. "Just make sure you're being safe. I've got plenty of protection if you need it. Don't want any little angel showing up unexpectedly." I squeezed Nora's clenched fist. Nora finally looked at Alia, her voice a bit chilly. I don't like that kind of joke. It's not funny. You're serious? Alia seemed a bit surprised. Nora's lips tightened. Yeah, if the light had been a little brighter, Alia would have seen just how hard Nora was struggling to hold it together. After all, she had her arms wrapped tightly around her upper body to keep me from moving. But that didn't mean I couldn't move other parts hidden under the blanket. Where no one could see, I gently stroked Nora's thigh. Every time I touched her, she shivered. All right then, I won't disturb you. I'm staying out tonight. Alia spoke with a knowing tone, glancing once more at Nora's bed. But in her heart, there was a hint of disdain. Nora, who always appeared pure and untouchable, so cold towards men, now didn't seem so unattainable after all. If her guess was right, there was probably someone under Nora's blanket, but Alia didn't call her out on it. After all, her relationship with Nora was still fine. Even though Nora's popularity sometimes irked her, there wasn't much animosity between them. Alia turned and left the dorm. As soon as the door closed, I threw off the blanket, gasping, Nora? I was suffocating in there. Nora leaned against the headboard, her deep gaze fixed on me. The dim light fell on her striking features, casting large shadows across her face. I found myself momentarily stunned. She looked even more beautiful under the soft glow, the shadows giving her a mysterious and captivating aura. Liam. Nora slowly stood up. She reached up and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, then looked at me seriously and said, I've never been annoyed by you. I've never given you the cold shoulder. Don't believe what she says. With that, Nora turned her head away. She threw off the covers and got out of bed, saying, Go to sleep. What about you, Nora? She picked up a cup, gesturing toward the living room. I'm going to watch my shows. You go ahead and sleep. I grabbed her hand and said, Nora, it's a bit cold tonight. The blanket's too thin. But this time, Nora pushed my hand away. Liam, Alia's gone. You don't have to keep pretending anymore. What does she have to do with it? Nora let out a self-deprecating laugh and asked, Why were you by the river tonight? It finally clicked for me. Alia's comment earlier about someone jumping into the river had made her think I went there because I was desperate. That I came back with her to the dorm just to spite Alia. I could see why she'd think that. Over the past 2 years, my adoptive parents, the E family, had been putting pressure on me. After they found their real son, they considered sending me back to my biological parents. Later, perhaps seeing that I still had some value through my engagement with the Liu family, they begrudgingly kept me around. To me, Alia had become a lifeline. I thought that since we'd grown up together, she would feel something for me, and I clung to the hope that she would help me out. I pinned all my hopes on Alia, but to everyone else, it just looked like I was obsessed with her, driven mad by love. And then there was Nora. As Alia's best friend, she must have witnessed so many of those moments when I pathetically clung to her. Nora? Kay wanted to explain, but she was already standing up. Set an alarm and leave early tomorrow. You don't want anyone seeing you. He didn't stop, didn't even turn back. I gritted my teeth and said, Then what about all those times you kissed me tonight? What about everything we did earlier? What did that mean? Nora suddenly stopped and heard Rax. She turned around to look at me, her eyes reddening. I continued, I know you're tired of me, but tonight, thank you. If you really don't want anything to do with me, I'll leave now. I got out of bed, not caring that I couldn't find my shoes. I walked barefoot toward the door. As I passed by Nora with my head down, I realized her face was already streaked with silent tears. Liam, Nora grabbed me. I told you I don't hate you. I immediately pulled her into my arms and asked, Then do you want me to take responsibility for you? She hesitated, and before she could answer, I cupped her chin and kissed her deeply. She responded to me with the same passion, her breathing growing heavier. She whispered, Liam, if you really want to take responsibility for me, then do it completely. I held her slim waist in solemnly, I will. During the long holiday, I went to the city where my biological parents lived. I stayed there for 3 days. By the time I left, exposed to rotten people, addicted to gambling, drinking, and worse, had already been taken away by the police. What awaited them was the harsh and unrelenting hand of the law, human trafficking, gambling rings, and forcing women into prostitution. Thanks to those dreams, I had all the evidence. I didn't need a second life for a rebirth. In this life, I could completely rid myself of these devils and ensure they were punished as they deserved. As I boarded the plane, I let out a long breath. The biggest burden on my mind had finally been lifted. In that moment, I felt free and completely relaxed for the first time. When the plane landed in the capital, the first thing I did was let Nora know I was safe. She didn't know the real purpose of my trip, thinking I had just gone on a short trip with friends. Nora asked, "Are you ready for me to come over tonight?" Nora was planning to move into my new place. It was no longer convenient for her to stay in the same dorm as Alia. I replied, "Everything is ready. You're welcome anytime." She paused for a moment and added, "Liam?" I asked, "What's up?" She said, "It's Alia's birthday today, and she's throwing a party tonight. She told me to bring my boyfriend. I had forgotten Alia's birthday was during the National Day holiday. Liam, do you want to go with me?" I didn't answer right away, feeling conflicted. It wasn't that I didn't want to go public with my relationship with Nora, but soon the family might sever ties with me. When that happened, the truth about my poor background would be revealed to the world. I knew Nora wouldn't care, but I didn't want her to be criticized by others. Just like in the dream, they had condemned her for being with a man of low status, calling her unfilial and disrespectful, breaking her family's heart. But as Nora had said that day, since I wanted to take responsibility for her, I had to take full responsibility. "You can't have it all." After all, Nora, I took a deep breath and asked, "Do you want me to go?" "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "Then come pick me up and we'll go together." I was still holding the phone when I looked up and caught my reflection in the window. I realized I was smiling brightly. "Liam, look outside." When I looked up, it was like a scene from a movie, everything moving in slow motion. The smile still hadn't faded from my face as the airport announcements faded into the background. In the bustling crowd, I saw only Nora. She waved at me, and without caring about anything, she ran straight toward me. I dropped my luggage and spread my arms. She threw herself into my embrace with so much force, but I still caught her securely. She wrapped her arms around my neck, her face beaming as she teased, "You've got a strong core." "Huh?" I looked down at her and chuckled. "My back's strong too. Want to test it?" She poked my shoulder and whispered in my ear, giggling, "Test it. You might be quick to run out of steam." I shook my head, exasperated, and muttered, "Just you wait. Don't beg for mercy. Crying won't help." Tonight's birthday party was as expected, packed with people. Alia made her grand entrance in a stunning purple silk gown, the smooth fabric clinging to her slender frame, swaying lightly with each step like starlight moving through the night. Kai, looking dashing and confident, wore a custom-tailored suit with every detail from his cufflinks to his hair perfectly in place. The two of them together made a striking pair. Kai, basking in the praise of his friends, glanced over at Alia, but she seemed a bit distracted. "Alia?" Kai called her name a few times before she snapped out of it. "What is it?" "It's getting late. Everyone's hungry, but not everyone's here yet." "Who's missing?" "Nora hasn't arrived," Kai nodded. "Oh, and I remember Liam hasn't shown up yet either." Someone else chimed in. "Yeah, it's Alia's birthday. No way Liam would miss this." But Alia cut them off. "I didn't invite him. Even if he comes, I won't let him in." I tried to calm her down. "Alia, don't get upset. It's your birthday today. Don't let an irrelevant person ruin your mood." "Right." Alia looked at Kai and nodded. Kai really was handsome and wealthy, and he knew how to charm women. Liam, though sweet, wasn't what she wanted. So when Kai appeared, she was instantly drawn to him. But after getting together, she realized he wasn't as great as she'd imagined. This past month, Liam hadn't been waiting for her outside the dorm. They hadn't gone to class or the cafeteria together. He'd completely vanished from her life. Even when they occasionally crossed paths at school, he would turn and walk away. Alia had to admit she wasn't used to it. Yes, that's all it was, just a matter of habit. She wasn't used to someone who had always revolved around her suddenly becoming cold. She wasn't interested in Liam, nor would she risk upsetting her family for a fake heir like him. But they had known each other for years. Alia thought maybe tonight, if Leo couldn't resist and came to find her, she wouldn't need him to grovel as long as he apologized sincerely, she'd allow him to stay in her life. Suddenly, the door to the private room swung open. Guess who I just saw? The guy who entered looked eager to gossip, his eyes falling on Alia. Whoa. Stopped easing us, yeah. Spill it. It couldn't be Liam, could it? It actually is Liam. Alia, we told you Liam can't stay away from you. See, he couldn't resist tonight, could he? Alia didn't say anything, but the displeasure on her face quickly faded. Kai, however, wasn't as pleased, his expression darkening as he tugged on Alia's arm. Half pleading, half commanding, he said, Alia, can you tell Liam to leave? He's been clinging to you like a stray dog for so long. Just thinking about it makes me sick. Alia looked at Kai, finding him more appealing in that moment than she had earlier. Her mood suddenly lifted. Even though she had decided to forgive Liam, he still needed to be punished for making her angry these past few weeks. Fine, let him leave then, Alia replied casually. Who are you asking to leave? Liam's voice came from behind, soft but clear enough for everyone to hear. The large room fell into a sudden silence, because everyone had seen it. The slightly open door had been pushed wide, and Liam walked in with Nora. Alia didn't move from her seat, but suddenly she threw the glass she was holding onto the ground. The shots cut her ankle. Kai, flustered, said Alia, you're bleeding. Get out, Alia. I said get out. Didn't you hear me? Alia stood up abruptly, angrily kicking aside the broken glass. Kai stood there stunned for a while before finally storming out in anger. The rest of the guests in the room quickly followed suit. Sensing the tension, blood dripped from Alia's ankle onto the floor, but she didn't seem to feel any pain. She just stared fiercely at Nora. After a long moment, she finally pointed at me and asked, Nora, care to explain? Nora only smiled lightly and asked in a calm tone, explain what? Why is Liam here with you? You invited me to bring my boyfriend to your birthday party. Remember? Nora clung to my arm, leaning against me closely. Alia's anger flared like a cat bristling. She swept all the cups and glasses off the table with a furious swipe of her hand. She said, Nora, do you even know that Liam is my... Nora asked, yours in what way? Is he your boyfriend? Your fiancé? Or do you think just because someone once liked you, they have to stay in love with you forever while you get to string them along? Alia ignored her and continued, you knew Liam liked me and you still went behind my back. Is this how you treat your best friend? With that, she reached out to grab my arm. I grasped her shoulder and shoved her hard, causing her to fall to the floor, her purple dress soaking in the spilled wine. I said, exasperated, Alia, stop flattering yourself and stop clinging to me. There's nothing between us, so there's no wall to be broken. Even if Nora dug up your grave, she wouldn't find me. And by the way, I'm the one who sought her out. I don't like you. No, I haven't liked you for a long time. Did you hear that clearly? I looked at her, realizing that I had long since let go. After all, any man with even a shred of self-respect couldn't keep liking someone who treated him like she did. Like a toy to be called and dismissed at will. Maybe during those years when we grew up together, there was a bit of fake affection, but after my true identity was exposed and her attitude changed, those feelings had long faded to dust. Liam, what did you say? Alia looked like she'd just heard the most ridiculous thing in the world. She struggled to her feet and said, "You almost jumped into the river for me. And now you're saying you don't like me," I sighed. "Never intended to jump into the river for you. It's not that serious. Who do you think I am? The reason I went to the river that night was to find an excuse to see Nora." Alia froze, staring at me with wide eyes. After a long moment, she glared at me, gritting her teeth as she spat out her words one by one. "So that night, the person in Nora's bed was you." "Yes, it was me, Alia. Just focus on your own relationship. I told you that night I will never come looking for you again, and I meant it." With that, I didn't spare her another glance. I took Nora's hand and turned to leave. "Nora, let's go home. You wanted to see what the new place looks like, right?" But Nora didn't move. She looked at Alia with the calm yet sharp gaze. She said, "Alia, Liam is my boyfriend. He has nothing to do with you. I don't want to hear you spreading rumors that he's somehow still yours." Alia, completely losing her composure, turned to me and screamed in frustration, "Liam, you say you like me, then turn around and leave me for someone else. Do you think you're worth anything?" I shook my head and replied, "If you don't know what I'm worth, why don't you go home and ask your father?" Alia fell silent. She glared at me with a twisted expression, her once beautiful face now filled with something ugly and unrecognizable. She said, "Liam, Nora doesn't know, does she, that you're not really the true heir of the E family? Keeping such a big secret from her is not very nice, don't you think?" Although I had already prepared for the truth about my origins to come out, hearing Alia expose it so suddenly still caught me off guard. Seeing my reaction, Alia laughed. "So you have been keeping it from her?" "I knew it. Nora is only with you because she thinks you're some rich heir. If she knew the truth, that you're just that adopted nobody, she'd ditch you in a heartbeat, wouldn't she?" "Alia." Nora suddenly let go of my hand. She rolled up her sleeves and removed her bracelet, handing it to me. With each word, she said clearly and firmly, "I always thought you were a fickle, untrustworthy person, but I never considered you evil. But now I see that I was wrong." Nora stepped forward, grabbing Alia by the hair and yanking her toward her, causing Alia to scream in pain. Just as Alia was about to fight back, Nora raised her arm and slapped her across the face again and again with all her strength. As she slapped her, she said, "You're not just a worthless piece of trash, but also a despicable lowlife. And another, I'm not like you. I don't care about who's rich or who's the heir of whatever family. I like Liam for who he is, not for his name or family. If his name were Liam or Seahans, I would still love him just the same." Alia's face turned bright red, but she still retorted, "A guy like him who knows how many girls he's tricked into sleeping with using a fake identity. Trash attracts trash. You two deserve each other." Before she could finish, I stormed forward, burning with rage, and delivered a slap that knocked one of her teeth out. She fell to the ground, clutching her mouth in pain, too shocked to speak. Nora grabbed my arm as I was about to continue, urging me, "Liam, stop. You'll get into trouble." I nodded, stopped, and took her hand. "Nora, let's go home." As we reached the car, I stopped and called her name. "Nora, do you believe me?" I looked straight into her eyes. She was wearing a light-colored silk blouse, her teary-eyed look making her appear delicate and vulnerable. It made her earlier actions of slapping Alia seem even more captivating. I felt incredibly moved by her. For 4 years, I had tried so hard to prove something, desperately clinging to any lifeline I could find. But it always ended in disappointment. The elders who once doted on me no longer cared. They didn't hit me. But their cold indifference was more than enough to crush a teenager's spirit. My biological parents were greedy demons, and I lived in constant fear of being sent back to them, or my life would be ruined forever. Even the childhood friend I grew up with looked down on me, and until my last breath, I didn't realize there had been someone who had quietly loved me all along. Luckily, everything from that dream would never happen now. I said, I really didn't go to the river because of Alia. And also, I've never been with anyone before. You're my first and only girlfriend. Liam. Nora stood on her toes and kissed me. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders, kissing her back. Finally, she gently rubbed my palm and whispered, Liam, I don't care about any of that, but hearing you say it still makes me happy. I nodded and said, I know, Nora. I'm telling you this because I don't want anyone to throw dirt on my name. I'm doing this for you. But, also, for myself. With that, I smiled and pulled her in even tighter. Nora, let's hurry home. You're dressed too lightly. You'll catch a cold. All right. She held my hand tightly, very tightly, and from that moment she held it for the rest of our lives. Before Nora and I made our relationship completely public, I went to the E family and had a long conversation with the elders. In the end, with some help from Martin, the true heir of the E family, I regained my independence and was no longer tied to the E family or my biological parents. I chose this moment because I knew the E family and my biological parents too well. If they learned about my relationship with Nora, they would cling to the Su family like leeches. And I didn't want to drag Nora or her family into that mess. As I left the household, Madame E wasn't to please. Liam, we raised you all these years, spent millions on you, and we haven't gotten a single penny in return. But my mindset had completely changed by then. The E family had raised me for 16 years, and until the real Lee son returned, I had lived a difficult few years, but they hadn't starved me. Even Martin, who once harbored hostility toward me, had unexpectedly changed his attitude. It was true that he had once been involved in the decision to kick me out of school and send me back to my biological parents, but now he was also the one who helped me resolve my final issues and convinced Madame E not to air my dirty laundry publicly. Now I was free. I was Liam again, no longer bound by anyone or anything. I was content. Madame, I bowed respectfully to Madame E. I will never forget your kindness in raising me. Easy for you to say. Madame E looked at me coldly. You couldn't even win over a childhood friend like Alia. What future do you have? Forget it, just go. I can't stand the sight of you. She waved me off. I didn't bother explaining further. I just shot Martin a look. Mum, I'll walk Liam out. And Martin said. Her expressions softened immediately. Come back soon. We're having dinner. Got it. Martin smiled and led me out of the house. We stopped in the garden. We looked at each other and suddenly we both burst into laughter. Bro, I hugged him, thank you. At the same time, Martin quietly said, Liam, I'm sorry. We didn't say much more, but we both understood. Martin's apology was for the Liam in the dream. My eyes grew red, and Martin shed tears too. Finally, he squeezed my hand tightly and said, Liam, this time you have to be really happy. I will, bro, you too. I would repay the E family's kindness in raising me by helping Martin in the future. He had suffered for 16 years while I had lived in comfort for those same 16 years. In the dream, I had once hated him, but now I let go of all the past grudges. When Nora took me to meet her parents, I was genuinely nervous. Mrs. Su had become a devout Buddhist in recent years, though I didn't know why. Every year without fail, she would go to Pajiji Temple to burn the first incense of the year. Don't be nervous. My mom has become very kind-hearted since she started practicing Buddhism, and my dad just goes along with whatever she says. I nodded, trying to suppress the anxiety rising in my chest. I was about to mentally rehearse the lines I'd prepared when Nora suddenly said, Liam, my mom's already coming out to meet us. Sure enough, Mrs. Su was walking down the steps towards the car. I had no choice but to steel myself and face her. Mom, this is Liam. Hello, ma'am. I'm Liam. I greeted her politely and handed over the gift I'd prepared. Mrs. Su smiled as she accepted the gift, but her eyes never left me. Even after we entered the living room, she continued to observe me intently. Then she suddenly insisted on taking me upstairs to the study. I was a bit worried and glanced at Nora for reassurance, but Mrs. Sue patted my shoulder and said, "Don't be nervous. Liam, let's just have a little chat upstairs." Then she turned back and teased Nora with a smile. "No need for you to be nervous either. Not a monster, am I? All I could do was offer a stiff smile and nod." Mrs. Sue seemed to be in an exceptionally good mood, holding on to my hand as we went upstairs. "Look, mister, isn't Liam just as I said? Handsome and refined. Mr. Sue, a gentle and scholarly man," nodded repeatedly. "Indeed, he's very well-mannered, a good young man." I was completely bewildered, unsure of what was going on. Mrs. Sue's eyes were red as she explained, "Liam, don't get the wrong idea. This might sound strange, but I've been having the same dream for years. In the dream, Nora never married because of a boy, and she passed away all alone in her 40s. At first, her father and I didn't believe it. We thought it was just a dream. But piece by piece, everything else from the dream came true." Her tears flowed freely as she continued, "I've spent these years praying and following a vegetarian diet, all for Nora. I was truly scared that the final part of the dream would come true. I always thought if that boy really existed, how wonderful it would be if he could be with Nora. And now seeing you, I know my prayers weren't in vain. Liam, you and Nora must take good care of each other." My vision blurred with emotion. In this world, there were people like my biological parents, and then there were people like Mrs. Sue, who loved their children fiercely. How lucky was I to have found Nora and to have such a good family. Finally, all the regrets from the dream had been resolved. Epilogue. Nora. After we graduated from university, Liam and I got married. We moved into our own home, and one day while Liam was taking a shower, I pulled out the pearl earring I had always kept. But this time, I put it on, and only the earring. When Liam came out of the bathroom, I was lying in bed, completely covered by the blanket, pretending to sleep. Nora, he kissed my cheek softly, his lips warm against my skin. It tickled, and my lashes fluttered, but I kept my eyes closed. Liam chuckled lowly and kissed me again before pulling back the blanket to get into bed. But as soon as he lifted the covers, he froze. Nora, the soft glow from the bedside lamp gently illuminated the room, casting a warm light over me. The pearl earring glinting under my hair. Between the curves and shadows, the light accentuated every rise and fall, with the red of my skin stark against the pale white of the sheets. It was like delicate cherries in a jade bowl. At first, I was shy, my body stiff with nervousness. When I saw the look on Liam's face, all the tension melted away. I sat up and pounced into his arms, wrapping my arms around his neck. I whispered in his ear, "Liam, do you like it? You're staring so hard." I could feel every muscle in his body tense. His skin burned as if his blood was boiling. His Adam's apple bobbed, and it was incredibly enticing. I turned my head and gently bit his throat. It was like opening the floodgates or waking a dormant volcano that suddenly erupted. In an instant, Liam flipped me onto the bed, taking control. His kisses were intense, deep, and overwhelming. I could hardly keep up. It felt like he was consuming me piece by piece. "Nora," he kept repeating my name over and over, never tiring. When it became too much, he whispered, "If it hurts, bite me." I closed my eyes, nodding softly. My nails raked down his back, leaving scratches, and I bit into his shoulder, leaving deep marks. But it still hurt. It hurt so much I couldn't help but cry. "Liam." Tears filled my eyes as I looked at him, feeling a bit aggrieved. He looked terrifying in that moment. I instinctively thought he wouldn't be able to stop himself. But Liam froze, pulling me into his arms. I clung to his waist, and suddenly I remembered that day at the airport. I couldn't help but ask, Didn't you say back then that crying and begging wouldn't work? The desire in his eyes hadn't faded. It was clear how much he was restraining himself, how agonizing it was for him. Liam hugged me tightly, his voice hoarse as he whispered, "I can't bear it, Nora." When did you start liking me? I didn't answer. He hugged me even tighter, threatening, not talking. Then I won't tell you when I started liking you either, despite the passion in his gaze. There was also an overwhelming tenderness beneath it. Unable to resist his persistence, I finally answered, "From the first time I saw you." Liam, I once thought I'd never get the chance to tell you. Liam kissed the corner of my lips and said, "It's all right." Nora, now we have a whole lifetime to be together. Yes, we have a lifetime now. Our fingers intertwined at some point, and as I leaned up to kiss him, he lowered his head and kissed me back tenderly and deeply. Liam, I don't think it hurts anymore. Do you want to keep going? The room was soon filled with the kind of sounds that made one's face flush. They lingered for a long time. That night felt like it would never end, and even longer than the night was the lifetime we had ahead of us. In the midst of spring's tide, we would speak of our love softly,